Today on Let Them Talk TV, lyrics from Beatles songs that you might only understand if you're British or you're familiar with British culture. We'll also take a look at some other linguistic curiosities from the Fab Four. So, if you love the Beatles but are confused by some of their lyrics, I can help. By the way, the gods of YouTube won't permit me to play anything but the shortest snippet of each song. So I'll put links to all the songs in the description. Let's also play a little game. How many Beatles songs do I mention in this video, excluding the ones I talk about specifically? The winner will get, I don't know, something. And I'll reveal the actual number in the next edition of my newsletter, The Rambler, which is free. And if you want more content and support the channel, then do become a patron. All the links in the description. You can also share your favourite Beatles song in the comments and tell me why you like it. I've got a feeling that you're going to love this. Yeah. Let's start with some of the songs from the Sgt. Pepper's album. In A Day in the Life, Paul McCartney sings, "Found my coat and grabbed my hat.
Made the bus in seconds flat. Found my way upstairs and had a smoke.
And somebody spoke and I went into a dream." Where is upstairs and why is he going there? When the song was written, buses in London and many cities had 2 decks, but you could only smoke on the upper deck. It was only in 1991 that smoking was totally banned on buses. By the way, the line "had a smoke and I went into a dream" was enough to get the song banned by the BBC for the supposed drug reference. Paul says it wasn't about that, but I suspect he was lying. In the song Good Morning, John sings, "It's 5 o'clock, everywhere in town it's getting dark. Everyone you see is full of life, it's time for tea and meet the wife." Strange. 5 o'clock is when you stop work. It's time for tea. This does not mean a cup of tea, but rather dinner, the evening meal, which is called tea by most working class people in the north of England. And Meet the Wife was the name of a BBC sitcom of the 1960s. So what John describes is the scene of everyday life in a northern town. Workers are leaving the factory, going home and eating dinner, tea, in front of the TV. In Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, John sings, "Over men and horses, hoops and garters, lastly through a hogshead of real fire." And this one threw me, I must admit. I imagined the head of a pig on fire because I'm sure you're aware that hog is a synonym for a pig. But in fact, a hogshead is a barrel of a certain size. So a performer jumped through a burning barrel. Then there's the line, "And of course, Henry the horse dances the waltz." For a horse, that's quite an act. Naturally, the BBC interpreted it as a drug reference, since Henry and horse were both slang words for heroin, and it got banned on the radio. John says it wasn't about that, but I suspect he was lying. He performs his feat on Saturday at Bishopsgate. The song also mentions Bishopsgate, which I believe is the only neighbourhood in London mentioned in a Beatles song.
John, why don't you wear your glasses on stage?
Because I'd lose my nerve if I could see everybody in the audience, you know. I like to have it all vague.
From the album Abbey Road, in the song Polythene Pam, John sings, "She's the kind of a girl that makes an use of the world, yes, you can say she was attractively built." Look at how John Lennon sings these lines in an exaggerated Liverpool accent known as the Scouse accent. Now, in my accent from the south, and indeed in other Beatles songs, you'd say girl and world with an vowel. But in the strong Liverpool accent, it's an sound, girl, well. He also uses a tapped R. Now, in my accent, attractively, in a Liverpool accent, attractively built. In earlier takes of Polythene Pam, John didn't use a strong Scouse accent. Can you hear the difference? She's the kind of a girl that makes an use of the world, yes, you can say she was attractive. News of the World was a Sunday tabloid newspaper renowned for salacious stories and scandals. In Penny Lane, the Beatles sing a for a fish is Liverpool talk for fourpence worth of fish and chips. Finger pies has sexual connotations, and I'll leave it at that. In the song Rain, John sings, "When the sun shines," and sip their lemonade. I mention this because if you're not British, then you have a different idea of what lemonade is. In Britain, it's basically sparkling sugar water with very little lemon content. So, for example, R. White's is one of the top-selling brands of lemonade in the UK. And on their website, it says, "Just great tasting lemonade since 1845. And it gives its ingredients for premium lemonade, which are, wait for it, carbonated water, sugar, lemon juice from concentrate, about 2%, citric acid flavouring, sodium citrate, acidity regulator, sweeteners, saccharin, acylsulfame, K, aspartame, sodium benzoate, preservative." Was that really what Charles Dickens and Her Majesty Queen Victoria were drinking on a hot summer afternoon in England in 1845? I doubt it. So no, not freshly squeezed juice of a dozen lemons. That's what John is referring to in this rather scathing song, for no one in particular, but just poking fun at people who are continually moaning about trivial things like the weather. It's raining, it's too hot, and he's saying, "I'm so tired of these people, don't bother me with this nonsense, just get on with your life." From Revolver in the song Taxman by George Harrison, the backing vocals speak of Mr. Wilson and Mr. Heath. Harold Wilson was the Prime Minister at the time, and Edward Heath was the leader of the opposition. The income tax rate in 1966, when the song was written, was up to 90 to 91% for higher earners, which the Beatles were less than happy with. It may have been unfair, but it gave us a great song. And your bird can sing. Here, bird in British English means a girl, a chick. Of course, it can have a double meaning. And in the song Blackbird,
Blackbird singing in the dead of night.
It could be interpreted as a black girl. In fact, Paul McCartney stated that in a 2018 interview. It was a reference to civil rights movement, and McCartney had read a newspaper article about a black woman involved in the struggle.
And in England, a bird is a girl. So I was thinking of a black girl going through this, now's your time to arise, set yourself free.
In Dr. Robert, John Lennon sings, "The National Health in the UK provides free universal health care for everyone. It's usually called the NHS, National Health Service. But the line has two meanings. Health is used with a broader meaning, and Dr. Robert is no doubt a person who peddles peculiar pills that may induce a temporary state of blissfulness for the consumer, shall we say." From the White Album, "Back in the USSR" begins with the line, now this was the British Overseas Air Corporation. In Britain in the 1960s there were two main British airlines, BOAC, mostly for long-haul flights, and BEA, British European Airlines, for European flights. BEA happens to be the first three letters of Beatles. So at the end of the movie A Hard Day's Night, they take a helicopter marked BEA Tools. Brits in the early 1960s would have found that funny. though it doesn't really stand the test of time. Helter Skelter is a ride at an amusement park. It looks like this, and if you know that, then the lyrics make sense.
When I get to the bottom, I go back to the top of the slide.
In the song You Won't See Me, Paul sings, "When I call you up, your line's engaged."
Your line's engaged.
Now, engaged in British English means that the line is busy. You can imagine Paul McCartney calling his bird at the time, Jane Asher, and getting this engaged tone. And of course, I'm going to mention Rocky Raccoon, not strictly a Britishism, but I'm mentioning it because if you know my name, it's Gideon, and it's mentioned in the song.
Checked into his room only to find Gideon's Bible.
The Gideons are an international Christian organisation that leaves free copies of the Bible in hotel rooms and other places. And here's a bonus. It's not a Britishism at all, but rather a Japanesism. In the song Julia, John Lennon sings,
Ocean child calls me.
Ocean Child in Japanese is Yoko, which I'm sure you know was the name of John's wife. If you're not British, how many did you know? If you are British, how many did you know? And if I've left any Beatles Britishisms out, then let me know below and I'll make a second video. Also, I want to tell you that I've written a book. It's not out yet, but it won't be long before it's available as an ebook, and I'll also be a paperback writer. Get your copy from the link below. Comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. That's the end of the video. Goodbye.